Hey, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm Sophie, I'm the founder of Agnes LDN. I upload videos every week on sewing, upcycling, DIY, that kind of thing. If you've been following my channel for a while now, you know that I keep saying that I don't have any pattern cutting paper, so a lot of the clothing that I've made so far has been just drafting straight onto the fabric. However, I ordered some pattern cutting paper the other day and then I found 5 meters that I'd stashed somewhere. So as usual, I will link everything in the description box below. So I'll link to you where I got my pattern cutting paper from. So this video is going to be a pattern drafting video. So there's one designer that's really inspiring me at the moment. She's got these beautiful puff sleeves, quite like fairy tale silhouettes and her dresses, and she has really high waistlines as well. And I decided that I wanted to make a couple of tops inspired by that. Now, this may end up being a long video because I've decided to make 2 tops because I could not decide between the 2 of them. So I've got this really nice spacer fabric that I brought from Cloth House in Soho when I was in my final year of university with the intention to use it for my degree, and I never actually did. So fast forward many years later, it's travelled around with me, moved flats with me, and it is time to make myself something out of it. And I'm going to show you how I created the pattern for them using pattern blocks and drafting techniques to make them fit me as well. So I really hope you enjoy this video. The focus is going to be much more on pattern drafting, and I'd love you to give me a thumbs up as you're watching if you're enjoying it, and also if you have any questions about pattern drafting or any aspects of pattern making and pattern drafting that you would like me to cover in future videos. Should warn you that I haven't done any pattern drafting since university, so I'm a little rusty, so apologies if there's any pros out there watching this video thinking she's doing it all wrong. So let's get into this video and I will show you how I made these tops. So first of all, I'm going to start with the pink style. So I've got these pattern blocks here and I've just measured my waist measurement and my bust measurement against the pattern blocks to check how close it is to mine. And I've also measured how deep I want the top section to be. So I'm going to start off with tracing the back block onto the pattern paper first, as that will be the easiest one to start with. Here's the centre back, so I'm going to keep this straight to the grain line of the fabric at all times. So I want this to be 20 centimetres long. So I'm going to just mark there that that's my beginning and end point. And at the moment, this is without a seam allowance, so I'll add the seam allowance on in a bit. And then I need to close out this dart at the bottom. So I'm going to trace to this first line of the dart. I'm going to pop my pencil in that hole there. And I'm going to pivot the pattern piece to close up the dart. And then, so I'm using a nice sharp protractor pencil to try and get this as accurate as possible. And then I'm going to trace 20 centimetres up here as well. Yeah, so then I can take that off. I'm going to label this as my centre back before I forget. And I'm going to call this pink space the top back cut 1 pair. So I know I need to cut 2 of these. And I'm just going to put a note here to bind this edge. And then I'm also going to notch on the back where I want to attach the drawstring straps as well. So we'll put 1 right at the top. So I'm just putting 2 lines as a notch. And then we'll go a bit further down and I'll put 2 there as well. And then now to connect these 2. So I think I'm going to do it slightly curved to try and follow this curve that we've got on the bottom as well. So then I'm going to add a centimetre seam allowance all the way around. The centre back I'm going to leave without a centimetre seam allowance because I'm going to bind that edge. So that's the back done. I'm going to mark that as pattern piece number 1, and then I'm going to move on to the front. Oh, I need to draw a grain line on this as well. So I'll do that in line with the centre back. So for the top, I am keeping a dart in it. So I'm going to do a bust dart. I'm going to do a bust dart. So I reckon that will be somewhere around here, and we'll go to this point here that's already marked on. I need to close out both of these darts and move that over there. So to begin with, I'm going to draw on my centre front the same way that I did my centre back. I'm going to do 20 centimetres I'm going to draw to this point here. So I think if I draw down here and draw down to that point there, leave a notch there, leave a notch there to show that that's where I'm closing it out to. I'm going to pivot to here, notch on this, quick line on this to show where my dart started. I'm going to pivot and close this dart up and then trace the remainder of the block around to this point here. Mark that in there to make sure that's all in. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a straight line from the point where the dart ends and then a straight line down to there. So now we've got the bust dart. Draw on the centre point. So once I've cut that out, I'll just check that line that they fold back onto each other. I need to get rid of a bit of space here. If I draw them in up there, draw that, then I can replicate that line that I need to close out. And cut down one of these lines to the pivot point. So we use magic tape when we're pattern drafting because it's clear and you can draw over it. If I close that, that opens this dart up a little bit more. If I take those two up, and that's flat. Add some paper under there, take that flat. Let me just close it up and see what it looks like. But that's what our top will look like when it's done. What I'm going to do for now is just draw a straight line between these two and then I'll curve that down. So this is now the centre front and we're going to cut this on the fold so it's one piece. So basically I'm going to cut this out in a lighter weight cotton to just go behind the front panel so it's not see-through. Now I'm going to add my 1 centimetre seam allowance all the way around. That's the top panel for the pink top. And now I need to cut out a pattern for the bottom skirt part. The amount of volume that I can get in this is kind of going to depend on how much pink fabric I have. I've also got all these offcuts, which I'm going to use for these straps and I'm going to use to bind the edges as well, which goes quite nicely with the pink spacer fabric. I measured the waist measurement of both of these pattern pieces. They were 18 centimeters each. So I think for the waist, I'm going to do 2 times that measurement. And for the hem, I'm going to do 4 times that measurement to try and add that volume in. So we'll see how that works out because I can always take volume out. It'll be harder to add it in. So I'm going to do 1 pattern piece for both, for the back and the front, seeing as the waist measurement was the same. I'm going to do it on the fold, 18 centimeters and another 18 centimeters. So, and now I'm just going to check how long I want it to be. So 30 centimeters would be great. And I'm probably going to bind the edge of this hem as well. So that's 30 centimeters. So I've got my rectangle. I'm just going to mark my halfway point and my quarter way points. And then I'm going to add volume to this by slashing it and spreading the paper. Place this on another bit of paper and I'm going to cut up to these points. So I've got 4 laps. I'm going to stick this piece down because this needs to stay straight because that is the centre. And then I'm going to open that up 9 centimeters if I can. Take that section down and that section down. Open that one up another 9 centimeters. So I'm adding in the volume and it's also given me, I don't know if you can see that, giving me a curve up here. So I'm going to make sure that's all stuck down well. I'll redraw my line around here and add on my seam allowances where needed. So if I wanted a neater pattern, I could trace this out again so it hasn't got all the tape on it. So that's that pattern done. Okay, now to make the pattern for top number 2. So again, we're going to have the dart in the same place under the bust. So I'm going to start off by drawing on the centre front. And I want to create this nice curved shape at the top. So I've just measured on myself how far down I want that to be. I think I'm going to take the neckline down a couple of centimetres, just so to give a slightly wider neck. And then that's going to be to start 25 centimetres down. Let's go for 22 centimetres down to create that shape. So then we'll sketch a nice curve back to this point. But first of all, we need to close out the darts. Close that one up. And sketch all the way around. And I need to notch my armholes as well. And then I'm going to close that one up. And I'm going to sketch all the way around to there. So I've done my dart from that point now, actually. Draw that dart out to that point. Also, the style of top that I'm doing, the armhole comes in quite far, so I'm probably going to take this in a little bit further. So let's do that first. And I'm going to make the neckline a little bit wider as well. I need to make sure that when I come back to here, that this comes back to a right angle. Otherwise, I'm going to have a weird curve on my neckline. So let's just sketch out a rough outline of what this would look like. Right, so that's the centre front, that's my dart. And oh yeah, I was going to take this in a little bit. I'm going to take 2 centimetres off the armhole, and I need to remember to do that on the back as well, but then it's going to come back to the same point here. Now all there is left to do is add the seam allowance and the instructions. Okay, that's the front band, and the back is going to be fairly straightforward. Let's start drawing on the centre back. I'm just roughly tracing this at the moment until I've made all the alterations that I made on the front. And I'm actually going to close all the darts out. Actually, I might keep the waist dart in. Brought the front neckline down, so I'm just going to make sure that those 2 lines line up with each other. I'm just going to check the lengths against each other. Now the centre back is going to be bound. I want to do like a diamond kind of shape at the back. It's just something like that in the back shape. And then we'll have a tie here and a tie here. That edge will be bound. Now the skirt parts. So first of all, I'm going to trace off this shape. I'm going to use my rotary thing to trace this shape. I'm just going to follow this curve, and this just makes like dots through the paper. So I'll be able to trace back over that with my pencil. So that's now going to be the top of this pattern piece. Now I'll work out how long I want it to be. So again, 30 centimetres is good. So if I take that all the way down to 30 centimetres, and take that point down, square that off. So now we're creating the bottom part, the bottom panel. Let's add some volume into it. So I'm just drawing 3 straight lines. What I'm going to do now is cut up those and add in between them. Another 5 centimetres away, so I've added 5, 10, 15 centimetres into that. So that's going to be my top line. So I shall redraw. And I want to add more into the bottom as well. What I'm thinking I'll do now is cut up each of these and spread them open a couple of centimetres each. But you can see now that it's starting to take a curved shape. So let's just retrace the hem. So that is the front of the skirt, and I'm going to do this for the back. I'm probably just going to take this shape and take this curve panel out of it. And now I just need to make the sleeve. So I'm just going to trace this off quickly, even though I'm going to do a lot of alteration to it, so it doesn't really matter. So there's my basic sleeve pattern for a fitted sleeve. So this needs to gather back to 30 centimetres because I want to add volume to the top of the sleeve and the bottom of the sleeve. I'm going to add 2 lines all the way down. If I was just doing this to the top, I would cut and slash to this point and pivot these open. But because I want to do it to the bottom as well, I think I'm going to add in more paper here and then gather this back to 30 centimetres and gather this back to the length of the armhole. Okay, so now I need to pin down my pattern pieces on my fabric and cut them out. So I'm going to lay them out before cutting to check where I've got the most space. I'll prioritise the pattern pieces that need to be cut on the fold as well. I'm going to whiz through the next section so this video doesn't get too long, but what I'm going to do first is I'll sew my darts in, and then I will attach shoulder seams, side seams and shoulder seams. I've also cut out a facing. I'm just going to use a cotton and bamboo muslin because it's quite fine. It'll be really soft against my skin and it won't show up too much. So I've done that for both of the front panels as well. So yes, I'm going to do the darts first, and then I'll do all the seams and gathering, etc. after that. So here is the finished white top. Absolutely love the back detail. So I think this top is possibly one of my favourite things that I've ever made. I'm so happy with how it turned out. Got no idea what I'm going to wear it with because of this, but yeah, I absolutely love it. I've had it hanging up in my sewing room for the last few days just so I can look at it on the wall. So as you can see where I kind of brought the armhole in, although to be honest I probably could have brought it in even more, and this like line, this waistline I just really love. So yeah, I faced the top front so it wasn't see-through. Bound all the edges with self fabric. This is the white top with the really cute puff sleeves. Let me show you the other one. This is the pink top, top number 2. So it did little spaghetti straps and then just the one bust panel, the big old voluminous bottom panel, and then you've got the back which has got the ties, very similar to the last top. I do like this top. Unfortunately it's not very supportive at the moment. I have taken it in a little bit at the side here to try and get it a bit tighter around the bust. So unfortunately it's not that supportive, and because these straps are only tiny and they are cut on the bias, they do stretch a little bit. So these are not holding much up. So my other option would be to maybe add like a strip of elastic under the bust as a bit more of like an underwiring or support. But I'm not sure how effective that will be because obviously there's nothing that tight to the back other than the straps, and then these straps also stretch as well. So just what you want in a top. I have already taken it in at the side to try and make it a little bit tighter. Overall, I'm really happy with how well the fabric has worked on this shape and how well the pattern has turned out. I think the white one definitely turned out better, but I do love this one. Also, I was thinking that maybe in the winter I may layer this over tops as well. So maybe I'd put like a plain white t-shirt or something like that underneath it, so it's not quite as revealing and I can still wear it as the seasons change, because we're now in September, so the weather's going to get colder. Let me know what you think. Leave me a comment to let me know which one was your favourite. So yeah, give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it and if you found it useful. Thank you so much for watching. I'll be back next week with another video. Be sure you subscribe to my channel so you don't miss out. Be sure to go and follow me on Instagram so you don't miss out on anything happening in the Agnes LDN world. Thank you so much for watching this video. I will see you next week.